Bears Super Bowl Sunday, a historic Super Bowl 56 in SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles is going to be held tomorrow, February 13th, between the AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals and the NFC champion Los Angeles Rams. Super Bowl Sunday is my favorite Sunday of the year. It's going to be an epic showdown tomorrow, and you have a couple of key storylines for this matchup between the Bengals and the Rams. First of all, it's the second straight home Super Bowl that we've had in the NFL season so far. The Buccaneers had the first home Super Bowl in NFL history, and the Rams have the second. And the Bengals, they had 150 to 1 odds to make the Super Bowl this year, and well, here they are in Super Bowl 56, and Joe Burrow has a chance to make history. The Bengals quarterback in his second season has a chance to make history by becoming the first quarterback to win the Super Bowl, the national championship, and the Heisman Trophy. And Matthew Stafford makes the Super Bowl after 13 years in the NFL in his first year in Los Angeles. We have Sean McVay and his former offensive coordinator, Zach Taylor, going head-to-head in a matchup of the youngest head coaches in Super Bowl history. Sean McVay is 36 years old, and his former assistant, Zach Taylor, head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, is 38 years old. We also have Jamar Chase, who made it to his Super Bowl in his very first year as a rookie. It's going to be all LA for this Super Bowl, with a halftime show full of LA stars such as Snoop Dogg. For the halftime show, it's all Los Angeles. It got the stars on both sides of the ball, and it's going to be a lot of fun in Hollywood. Now let's take a look at the two quarterbacks. Take a look at their numbers. Take a look at Matt Stafford, 67% completion for 41 touchdowns and 17 interceptions during the regular season. Over 900 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception in the playoffs. So Matt Stafford has been lights out so far in the playoffs, and he deserves respect. Has won all 3 of his starts. He's 3-3 now in the playoffs. He's made all the big throws that he's had to do. But in this Super Bowl, one thing he absolutely cannot do is turn the ball over. That is something you cannot do, and the Bengals have feasted on that throughout their playoff run. And Stafford cannot make the big mistake. He has to play like he's been playing all season so far, and especially in the playoffs, just free and just slinging it, man. He's a slinger. And then you have Joe Burrow, second-year quarterback Joe Burr. Let's see what he got, man. 70% completion, 34 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and he's 3-0 in his playoff career. He's going to be great as long as he gets time. You know, Joey Franchise is going to be great as long as he gets time, man. And also for Joe Burrow, he can't turn that ball over, and he also needs to be smart. This is where I think the Rams make the big cut offensively, is with Cooper Kupp. 25 catches for 386 yards and 4 touchdowns for Cooper Kupp in the playoffs so far. He's been lights out. He's been Matt Stafford's go-to guy. He can't be guarded in the secondary even by the Bengals because he's such a great route runner that I think he'll still be a big factor, and he'll find an opening for his quarterback. And then you have Odell Beckham Jr. has been such an amazing acquisition. It allows Kupp to be even better because Kupp has those easier one-on-one matchups, possibly because then you leave Odell. So Odell has turned into a big playmaker for the Los Angeles Rams in huge spots in the postseason. Has 19 catches for 236 yards and a touchdown so far in the playoffs. Look to see probably at least one of them is going to have a big game tomorrow. And unless the Bengals try and really double team each of them, that would lead to Van Jefferson having a really good one-on-one matchup, the Rams' number 3 wide receiver. So it really just favors the Rams across the board, in my opinion. And then what's probably going to decide this game is these two men right here, Aaron Donald and Von Miller. This is a game where realistically the Rams should win on paper. Aaron Donald, arguably the best player in the NFL, and on the defensive side of the ball, he can truly be a game wrecker in this Super Bowl. I expect him to destroy this weak Bengals offensive line. You know, although Zach Taylor and the coaches, the offensive line coach, will have time to make a game plan, he's just too good, man. There's just no way you can stop him. He hasn't been stopped his entire career. So, you know, this is what you should have. Raheem Morris needs to rush both Von Miller and Leonard Floyd. Technically, they're both linebackers, but they both need to rush 100% of the time. This Bengals offensive line just cannot handle them. You have Aaron Donald, who has 1.5 sacks with 6 quarterback hits. Von Miller, who's at 2 sacks with a forced fumble and recovery in the playoffs. You remember, in Super Bowl 50, he played a huge part, and he won the MVP. You remember that? Against Cam Newton, he stopped Cam Newton, who was MVP that season, a lights-out electric quarterback that everybody was, jumping on. And, everybody was talking about Cam Newton, but Von Miller wrecked that game. And you may see something like that tomorrow, which is what I expect Aaron Donald to do. Again, like I've said before, the Rams match up really well with the Bengals. You have 2 lockdown corners in Jalen Ramsey and Darius Williams. Jalen is probably going to be locked on Jamar Chase the entire game. This is going to be such a huge matchup. Definitely need to take a look at that one right there. This could play a huge part in deciding the game, especially if, Burrow can use Jamar Chase in his escape outlet. When the pressure comes in, just can fire quick passes to him. Jalen Ramsey has to just do anywhere near what he normally does, and the Rams should be good. Although he's gotten burned by Mike Evans and, Deebo Samuel, Ayuk a little bit, he should be good against the rookie. And you have Darius Williams. He's been really good. Look for him to guard T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd. This secondary can really take away 2 top wide receivers for the Bengals. Plus, you have Taylor Rapp coming back in this secondary, and then Eric Weddle also in the back end. His leadership is going to be important. So the Rams, just to me, have the matchups throughout the defensive side of the ball. And then for the Bengals offense, Joe Mixon, he's a huge role in this game, has a big one, because if they can start to run the ball well, have those long TD drives, it will give the Bengals a really, really good chance to potentially win this game. You saw how the 49ers were able to run the ball, but again, they have Kyle Shanahan, who's a run guru genius. Because plus the 49ers are really physical. I'm just not sure how physical can the Cincinnati Bengals be, because Joe Mixon has to burst off decent gains every once in a while to keep those drives alive, and that will favor the Bengals really well, because then they can start to use play action to neutralize the Rams pass rush, and then Joey B will do the rest of it for you, man. So far, Joe Mixon in the playoffs, 52 rushes for 190 yards and a touchdown, averaging about almost 4 yards a carry. He came up huge against the Chiefs, had 88 rushing yards, big in overtime. So he's going to have to play a big part. Then you have Jamar Chase, who's going to have to come up big, working against arguably the best cornerback in the league, Jalen Ramsey. I understand if Jamar Chase isn't able to win a lot. Once again, he's been amazing, but after all, he is a rookie. He's had 100-yard games in 2 playoff games this season, plus 2 touchdowns, had 6 catches for 54 yards and a touchdown against the Kansas City Chiefs. He's going to have some big plays. I think he's going to have even less performance than what he had against the Chiefs. I think he will have a touchdown, though. You look for that. And then you have the other 2 wide receivers who are going to be so important in this game, T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. If Jamar Chase is shut down, you're going to have to expect T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd to come through for the Bengals to have any chance offensively in this game, especially if Aaron Donald stops the run with Joe Mixon like I expect him to do. For T. Higgins, he had a huge game against the Chiefs, 6 catches for 103 yards with big gains and conversions, especially on 3rd down. He also had 7 catches for 96 yards against the Tennessee Titans. So look for him against Darius Williams to somehow maybe make his presence felt. And then Tyler Boyd, he might be a big key, because you have Darius Williams and Jalen Ramsey guarding T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. So then you have Tyler Boyd as a number 3. He's had a quieter playoffs, only 10 catches for 62 yards the entire postseason, had 1 touchdown against the Raiders in the wildcard round. That's about it. So if those 2 are locked down, then Tyler Boyd has to make a difference. It'll come down to that, really. And then the tight end situation is really complicated for both teams, with Tyler Higbee more than likely out, the starting tight end for the Los Angeles Rams. This really opens the door for Kendall Blanton on the biggest and brightest stage in football as potentially a starting tight end for the LA Rams. He's been really good in the playoffs so far, built a good rapport with Matt Stafford. But the Bengals linebackers are really good too. You have Jermaine Pratt, you have Logan Wilson, you have those guys. So it's going to be a really key matchup, probably as a check down or reliable option when needed. Kendall Blanton is going to have to find a way, even on play action. And then he had 5 catches for 57 yards against the 49ers with Tyler Higbee out early. And he had 2 catches for 18 yards and a touchdown against the Bucks. So he's going to have to do whatever he can to get Stafford an easy option. And then as for CJ Uzomah, good news for him. He's been able to practice more, and he will be playing tomorrow in the Super Bowl. He's honestly the life and soul of the Cincinnati Bengals. Fires him up. He's been huge. Again, I'm not sure how much he's going to play because of his injury, but that opens the door for Drew Sample. One of my subscribers pointed that out to me. It is the Super Bowl. We'll see what he can do. He's been huge. 49 catches for almost 500 yards and 5 touchdowns in the regular season. 13 catches for 135 yards and a touchdown through 2 games in the playoffs. And he's going to have to be there if the pass rush gets in quick. And then this is where the Bengals can really try and stop the Rams receivers. You have Von Bell and Jesse Bates in the secondary for the Bengals. They forced, an interception of Ryan Tannehill. Great job in the back end. They're going to have to contain Odell and Cooper Kupp somehow. They just cannot allow the big plays, and they have to force Stafford to make a mistake. And, Matt Stafford is aggressive. He's generally an aggressive quarterback, so they're going to have to bait him into a weaker throw. This is one of my keys in this game, just to have to take advantage of a missed bad throw by Stafford, something Jaquiski Tart missed on for the 49ers. And the secondary was really so good against the Chiefs in that second half. If they're gonna have to be aggressive like they were against Kansas City, and if they're going to counter Stafford so they can lock them down in passing, they're gonna have to put up a similar performance to what they did in the second half against the Chiefs. And then now the Bengals pass rush, they're also going to be really important. Can DJ Reader, the huge acquisition for the Bengals in free agency, can he stop the run? He's been huge for my Texans over the past couple of years. This pass rush has to get there to try and stop Cam Akers and Sony Michel. First of all, that's what DJ Reader's best at, run stopping. You're going to have to make the Rams one-dimensional to have any chance. And then you're going to have to get after Stafford once that starts to happen. And the Bengals really only need one key turnover to flip the game on its head, like they did against the Chiefs. And then Trey Hendrickson, he was huge in the AFC Championship, forcing key pressures on Mahomes. He's going to have to get there again. So far, Trey Hendrickson, 2.5 sacks, the forced fumble, and 4 quarterback hits that he's had in the playoffs. You have Sam Hubbard on the other side. He's going to have to be big because Hubbard is at 3 sacks and a forced fumble as well in the playoffs. They have to get there. Otherwise, Stafford's going to dice him up, honestly. More than likely, Stafford isn't going to have a brain freeze like Mahomes did. So that's just the truth, honestly. And then the Rams running game, that's when we have to be important. Again, they haven't been too good. I mean, they've only been averaging 3 yards a carry in the playoffs. Sony Michel was in Super Bowl 53, if you remember, with the Patriots playing against the Rams. Now he's with the Rams. He's at 845 yards and 4 touchdowns in the regular season for the Rams. At least he hasn't fumbled compared to Cam Akers, who fumbled 2 times against the Buccaneers and nearly blew the game. But for Cam Akers, it's been an incredible story, an insane return for him. After being ruled out for the season with a torn ACL, he comes back for the playoffs, and he's played really, really solid. He's had 54 carries for 151 yards in the regular season. Needs to run the ball. If the Rams run the ball, things could get over really fast. He's done a lot in the playoffs. Those 54 carries, 151 yards in the playoffs. And then Matt Stafford and Sean McVay on play action. That's going to be lethal if that happens. That'll make less time for Joe Burrow, and the defense will get tired. And then they're going to have to really get up there in yards per carry. Now let's go through each position groups, and I'm really giving the advantage to each team by themselves. Take a look at this chart right here. For quarterbacks, I'm giving it a tie. Joe Burrow and Matt Stafford, they've both been playing really well. Running back, I'm giving it to Joe Mixon. He's been better than both Michel and Akers. And then wide receivers, both Rams and Bengals have a lot of playmakers. As for tight end, you have Kendall Blanton, then you have CJ Uzomah or Drew Sample. I think it kind of balances out there. And offensive line, clear advantage goes to the Los Angeles Rams with Andrew Whitworth holding it down. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you have the defensive line, easy, goes to the Rams. You have Aaron Donald. Linebackers, I'm giving it to both, even the Bengals have pretty good linebackers, so do the Rams. And I think the Bengals also have some good defensive linemen, so I give the Bengals a little bit of both, but overall the Rams have the advantage in those 2 categories. Secondary, the Rams, I think they have a slight advantage with Ramsey, but I think the Bengals, they have much better safeties. Special teams, easy, goes to the Rams. They have Johnny Hekker as punter. And then coaching, Zach Taylor, an incredible job leading from 4-11-1 to the Super Bowl. And then Sean McVay, obviously one of the brightest minds in the NFL. And X factors, that's going to be really important. If you remember in my Rich Eisen interview, X factor, that's Joe Burrow being Joe Burrow, and the Bengals just being magical like they have all season. That's just the X factor. They have the X factor. And now we're going to be talking about the keys to the game. The keys for the Bengals, they have 3 keys: make, keep, and get. First of all, make an effort to run the ball with Joe Mixon and use play action to try and slow down the Rams pass rush. Somehow, you're going to have to use his running game to slow down the pass rush. You're going to have to keep Joe Burrow under or at 3 sacks to have yourself a chance. And then get at least 1 turnover from the defense. The defense has to have that 1 key turnover, whether that be an interception or fumble from Matt Stafford, to flip the game on its head. And that's really how the Bengals have been winning the games against the Titans and the Chiefs. And now keys for a Rams win: no turnovers from Matthew Stafford and the offense. That is huge. They nearly choked away a game against the Buccaneers with those turnovers. You're going to have to stop the running game of Joe Mixon early, make the Bengals one-dimensional, get after Joe Burrow, get at least 4 sacks, and get constant pressure on him to collapse the pocket. And now it is time for my prediction, the moment you've been waiting for. I am going with the LA Rams, 24-20. It comes down to the wire, but the Rams defensive line dominates in big plays by Matt Stafford late, gets it done. You can watch the Super Bowl tomorrow, 5:30 Central Time on NBC. I think the Bengals get one late last chance, but the Rams defensive line, and fittingly, Aaron Donald, who's going to be the Super Bowl MVP, close the door on Joe Burrow, and the Bengals will have a frustrating first half, and the second half is going to be really entertaining, where the quarterbacks are going to make some big plays. Both quarterbacks have a rough start in this game. Defenses dominate early. The Bengals literally have no plausible answer for Aaron Donald. They just can't do it. And I'll bet by that all game. Matt Stafford plays well enough. He has just enough time, makes some good throws, and he also makes some bad throws. I believe the Bengals defense will force a turnover, but the Bengals are just not consistent offensively. I think it'll help the offense out, but they just won't be consistent because they haven't been consistent throughout the playoffs. I think the Rams offense will really wake up in that second half. Personally, for me, I think it's going to be 7-7 at halftime. Cooper Kupp, he's going to have another great game. I think Odell Beckham Jr., he's going to get some big plays down the field. Van Jefferson shows up for 1 big touchdown. I think Von Miller forces a fumble. I think Jamar Chase is going to have something around 4 catches for 36 yards and a touchdown. And I think the Rams stuff the run game pretty early. They check all my boxes pretty much. And the Rams win it. Super Bowl 56 champions. It's time to celebrate in LA. They are your champions. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please don't hit the like, subscribe, and comment in the comment section what your Super Bowl pick is. And I'll see you in the next one.